actually abused growing up, and I witnessed my oldest brother commit suicide when I was a teenager. So by the time I was 20, I had all this pain inside of me, and I just masked it with my first drug of choice, which was looking good on the outside. So all throughout my 20s, I poured myself into religious activities, and even when I married an abuser, I continued to try really hard to portray this facade of the perfect Christian family. But by the time I was 30, I was sick and tired of pretending and trying to hide all the pain from the abuse. So I left my home, I took my 3 kids and filed for divorce, and for the first time realized what it felt like to be homeless.
At 6 years old, I was physically beaten and abused by my father. I knelt down to pray to Jesus to stop the abuse. Nothing happened. I quit on God, and that was 45 years ago.
At this time, I turned to a different kind of drug and found solace in the arms of different men. I quickly got remarried. When that didn't work, I got divorced again and basically went from one bad relationship to another. And it wasn't until 2003 when I joined the CA recovery classes that I discovered that my twin addictions of looking good and having unhealthy relationships was really keeping me away from God. So through the recovery classes, I learned to completely surrender my life to Jesus and have Him heal me from the inside out. In 2005, I joined the CA Skid Row ministry, and that's when I found out that all this pain inside me was being used by God to help relate to these homeless men and women. I may have been wearing nicer clothes, and I didn't live in a cardboard box, but deep down inside, I was just as much a sinner as they were, desperate for God's mercy and grace.
I saw a guy eating a hot dog. I asked him where he got that hot dog from. He said in a line on Gladys. I went to Gladys to get a hot dog, and I continued to go to that line every Sunday for about a year to get some food. I eventually met Pia, who asked me if she could pray for me. I said no, and she continued to ask me and ask me and ask me. And after another year, I finally said yes. And 2 weeks later, Pia asked me if she and her team could pray for me, pray for Jesus to come into my heart, and I said yes.
So we continued to pray for LaSalle, and it was a great day at Skid Row when he finally accepted Jesus into his heart. And of course, it continued to be an upward climb for him. But when we suggested that he go into a rehab program to help him deal with his drug addictions, he said, I tried them all before and none of them worked. And we reminded him, well, this time it might be different because now you have Jesus in your heart and you've got Christian friends rooting for you and praying for you. And he said, you know, I never had friends before. So I asked him, so how does it feel like? And he said, well, I'm still getting used to it.
Ever since they prayed with me, I've been clean and sober from my addiction for 80 days. I've been going to church. I've been reading my Bible more. I've been praying more, and I just want to get to know Jesus better.
I used to think that I was too wounded or broken to be of any real use, but I discovered that it is by our very wounds that we can be of value to God's kingdom. A lot of people try to hide their painful past or their addictions to alcohol, drugs, looking good, or unhealthy relationships. But really, it is by Jesus' stripes that we are healed, and it is by our own stripes, whether they are self-inflicted or caused by others. It's our stripes that God can actually use to heal others. So I do believe that God is raising an army of wounded healers, be they businessmen, single moms, students, or homeless people. And I'm just really glad I got to be a part of it.